welcome to another episode of the Woldenburn podcast. I am so glad to be here today. I'm so glad that you are here today. I have got a cup of rooibos caramel tea from Adagio Teas. I'll link it down below. It's so good. I was just feeling in the mood for a cup of tea, so even though it's a little bit of a warmer day today, I went ahead and made myself some. It's way too hot to drink right now. I'm a little bit of a wimp when it comes to very hot temperatures, whether it's food or drink. Hold on just a second. I'm going to take my socks off. I don't know why it is, but I'll get to a certain point in the day where I'm like, my feet need nothing on them. I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit of a longer one today. I have a lot of projects that I want to talk about and share with you. A lot of progress that I've made on different things. I want to talk a little bit about books, some YouTube stuff that I've been watching. Yeah, just a lot. I've had a really good day so far. I went to a couple of antique malls, which there is a little sneaky vlog that I am working on right now, where I will talk about what I got and things like that. That should be coming up, I think, over the weekend. I'm not sure. I don't think I want to wait until next Thursday, because that's when I have another vlog that I'm planning to come up. So I think it's going to be a sneaky little extra vlog. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the normal podcasty things. First off, what am I wearing? This is another Old Navy dress. If you remember a couple of episodes ago, I talked about how when I was on vacation, I purchased a couple of Old Navy dresses because I was needing some more clothes that I could actually fit. For those of you that are new here, I am currently just over 23 weeks pregnant, and it has definitely massively shrunk my wardrobe, especially in the last 2 weeks. I feel like baby is just, doing his thing. But it was kind of funny because I packed up all of my dresses and things that I can't wear anymore just yesterday or the day before into a box, and it's just the majority of my wardrobe I can't wear. So I picked up a couple of these dresses on vacation, and then I realized at Old Navy they had one more version and one more color, and they had a 50% off sale, and I was just like, yes, because I have been wearing those two dresses non-stop so much, pretty much every other day sort of a deal. They're so comfortable and breezy and light, and I love that they have buttons on the front for future breastfeeding potentials. These are not maternity dresses. They're just regular, very flowy, lovely. I love the sleeves sorts of dresses, raglan armholes, and they're just so comfortable, so cozy. And one of the things that I really like about it is that it has a button here. I don't know if I can get this undone. This dress is still kind of new. I've only worn it a couple times now, but as it gets warmer, I'll be able to just go through and do like so, and just have like a short sleeve dress, because they're a very lightweight fabric, and it makes a pretty big difference when you're able to roll up your sleeves and have short sleeves instead of long sleeves. But anyway, so yes, I highly recommend these dresses regardless of whether or not you are pregnant. They are just so comfortable, and I have a feeling that they're going to be sticking around in my wardrobe for a very long time. I will say, I think that they're kind of close to phasing them out because they do have long sleeves, so they're less of a summery thing. But if they're still available, I'll try and link them down below because I just love them. They're amazing. They have pockets and everything. I've been wearing them constantly, so yes. But that is what I'm wearing today. Let's jump into some yarny goodness. I have so many things to talk about. Alright, so first off, do I have any finished projects? Technically yes, but also technically no. So the first one we're going to talk about is these gray socks that I have been working on making for my husband. Technically I have both socks completed. However, this one's not 100% done because I need to duplicate stitch the Dota 2 logo onto this sock. So I did this one yesterday and got that all duplicate. Which way does this need to go? There we go. Duplicate stitched onto there. I think it looks really good. Now I just need to do it on the other one. So technically I have a finished pair of socks, but this one's not quite done yet, so. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Dota is a video game that my husband has been playing for 10 plus years, and it just so happens that the logo for said video game is a really easy logo to transfer into pixel art / knitting. So actually one of the, I think it was the first thing I ever made for my husband back when we were dating, was a pair of socks with the Dota logo on them. But they were made out of Patton's Croy yarn, and so it's a much thicker, warmer wool yarn, and he really wanted some shorty socks because that's primarily what he wears with the Dota logo on them. So what is a wife to do but oblige? And I'm really happy with how they're coming out. It's a little fiddly and a little bit of a pain, but I love being able to make something special like this for my husband, and especially because it's socks, so it's not too difficult to do. Let me go ahead and show you the insides. I think his dream project for me to make for him would be a Dota sweater, but I haven't worked up the courage for that yet. So I have woven in all of the ends, I just haven't trimmed off the rest of them, but this is kind of what the inside looks like. So it's not the most beautiful of things, but it works. So that's what counts. And he's tried them on and they fit well, and yeah. So the yarn that I used is a Millamia Naturally Soft sock. I don't think I have the ball band in here. I bought it off of Love Crafts, Love Knitting, whatever you want to call it, over their Black Friday sale last year. And I was intending to knit my husband these socks for Christmas, but it didn't happen. It was really busy. I found out I was pregnant. I was kind of sick. I was not feeling very good, so it didn't happen for Christmas. But they come in 50-gram balls for, I think full price is like $6, so they're very economical, especially because I was able to get this whole pair of socks out of one 50-gram ball with this much left over. Like, that's just wild to me. I don't understand how that happened or how it worked out, but it did. So I'm very excited about that because this red color, well, I guess I should say, the gray is, I believe it's gunpowder, and then the red is also a Millamia Naturally Soft sock in, how do you pronounce it? It's like Falu, F-A-L-U red. So Falu red or something. And so I'm going to have basically entire skein of the red left, and then I haven't touched them, but I am working on finishing up knitting a pair of, or knitting the second sock for my pair of freckle socks, which is a pattern by Sarah Opie or S-Knits on Instagram. And I'm going to have most of this ball of gray left, and I realized it would be really cool to be able to stripe it with the red and have a gray and red striped sock. I think that would be so cute. So that's what I'm planning to do with the leftovers. But I'm just so impressed because I was able to get a full pair of socks out of a 50-gram ball with a good chunk of it left over. So I'm definitely going to be buying some more of that because, again, it's so inexpensive to be able to get a pair of hand-knit shorty socks for $6 when they're not on sale. And I feel like that particular line of yarn goes on sale relatively often, and I'm so excited to see how it ends up wearing. It does seem like it's a little bit of a thinner fingering weight yarn, but to be honest, that's perfect for summertime, so I'm not complaining. And then I just knit these in my standard way of knitting socks, which is I use a US size 1 or 2.25 knitting needles, and I knit them pretty much the only way I knit my socks is on double pointed needles. I just like the flow of it. Double pointed needles with 56 stitches. And the amazing thing about my husband, one of the many amazing things about my husband, is that we basically have pretty much identical sized feet. I think his might be a little bit wider than mine. But basically what it boils down to is that I can make socks that fit me. Any socks that I make for me fit him, and any socks that I make for him fit me. It's beautiful. I didn't have to come up with another recipe or stitch count or anything like that. I didn't have to do any experimenting. I just had him try on one of the socks that I had made for myself, and when I saw that it fit perfectly, I was so happy. So it's wonderful because it means that I can just autopilot, especially for something like this where it's just a vanilla sock and then I'm stitching something over the top of it. It's amazing. That is project number 1. I might start working on this one today. I'm not sure. Like I said, I've kind of had a busy day out and about and doing things, and so I'm feeling in the mood to just so we'll see whether or not I get started on that. And if you're interested, if you happen to have a fellow nerdy husband or significant other who likes Dota things, this is really very, very easy to, as far as a chart, to go on here, and all you have to do is just Google Dota 2 logo pixel art and it'll pop up. And I actually, what I did this time was I actually went into, I think it's Stitch Fiddle or something. It's like an online app for creating knitting charts. I went ahead and just popped in the logo for the Dota symbol so that I could save it. So I would have a PDF of the, I guess you could say the knitting chart for this, because this will not be the last Dota related thing I make for him. I can just tell you that right now. So I wanted to go ahead and save it, especially because it's perfect for socks. If I was to make a sweater or something with it on it, I would need to make it quite a bit bigger, but I'm not worrying about that right now. Maybe I'll do that for like a 5-year anniversary sort of a thing, but we'll see. No promises. But anyway, if you happen to want to be able to make that as well, just, like I said, Google Dota 2 logo pixel art and pick the one that works. So, yes. Let me take a sip of my tea. I think it's cool enough now. Oh, it's so good. It's so, so good. Adagio Teas is one of the top places that my husband and I get our teas from. We love their black dragon pearls and their, that's a black tea. And there's a, what's it called? Gunpowder, which is a green tea, and it's amazing. It's one of the saddest things about being pregnant is I've been trying to avoid caffeine for the most part. I'll have an occasional cup of like black English breakfast tea, because my husband and I got some at some point here recently, a month or so ago, and I started doing it with a little bit of sugar and milk, and it is so good. I get it. Like, I understand why people like black tea. The sugar and the milk, like, it's so good. But I kind of have been saving that as my treat, like a little bit of caffeine here and there. So like once a week I'll have a cup of black tea with sugar and milk, and it is so good. I need to get some decaf English breakfast tea because then I can do it on a daily basis. But anyway, we love Adagio Teas, and pretty much every one of the teas that we've had from there so far we've really liked, except for the, I think it was blueberry and peach black teas. Both tasted very artificial, so I don't recommend those. But the rooibos hazelnut is amazing. The rooibos caramel, which is what I'm drinking, that one's amazing. All their fruit teas are so good. There's a raspberry one. Oh, it's amazing. Anyway, tea tangent. Let's jump to the next project. So once I finished those socks, so technically I have a half-finished object, because last night I just wanted an autopilot project and I didn't want to work on the Dota socks anymore, and so I pulled out my West Yorkshire Spinners socks and I finished off this one. I think I had like this much left, just a little bit of the foot and then the toe, and so I just finished it off really quickly. It looks so good. I love this so much. And this is West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply in the colorway Passion Fruit Cooler. So I finished this one and immediately cast on for the second one. And I am about 8 rows into the heel. So I would say that I don't think I've ever had much of an issue with second sock syndrome, which tends to be something that a lot of knitters talk about. And I think the main reason for that is that pretty much immediately after I Kitchener stitch the toe, I will cast on the next sock, like right away. And then it's already on the needles and I don't have to think about it. And also, I don't know, I really want to be able to wear the finished socks, and so I don't see any point in not casting on the second one. So there's not a lot much more to say about this one. It's again just my standard sock recipe, 56 stitches, US size 1 or 2.25 double pointed needles, and I knit about 15 rows of 1x1 ribbing for the cuff. I did a standard heel flap and gusset heel, and then I just remembered I have another finished object. Oops, I'll have to go grab that in just a second. And then I typically knit about 60 rows from the beginning of the gusset decreases to before I start the toe. And then I just do typically a standard rounded toe. So they're very basic, very simple. That's my sock recipe that I use for all of my socks, to be honest. Yeah, so I'm working on this one. I'm super happy with this yarn. I'm going to have so much of this yarn left over, but I realized that I can probably make a second pair of shorties socks, but use like a solid color for the cuff and the toes, maybe the heel. I'm not sure on that yet. And that would be really cool, so I'm thinking about doing that too. But yeah, so this is, like I said, West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply. It's a 75% wool, 25% nylon, and I love it. I love it so far. I'm really curious to see how the sock is going to wear. It's 100 grams, which comes with 400 meters or 437 yards. And again, I purchased this off of Love Knitting or Love Crafts at the same time that I got the Millimia. And yeah, there's not a lot to say about it. It's just a vanilla sock. But actually, I'm going to go ahead and pause really quickly here and run grab that other finished project that I have. So I will be right back. In the back. So this project is going to look a little bit scruffy, but that is because my husband commandeered these and has been wearing them a lot since I finished them. So I have finished my worsted weight sock that I was test knitting for Emily of the Blue Mouse. She has a podcast and a YouTube channel, which I will link down below. She has a ton of amazing patterns, which I highly recommend you check out. But she is in the process of developing, which I'm so excited about. I'm so excited for her. I think that this is just absolutely brilliant. She's one of my favorite like YouTube online people. I just love her to death. And part of it is because we share the same name, so we're both Emily's, we're both right about the same age. It's amazing. But anyway, so I was able to test knit. She's in the process of developing a collection of very basic knitting patterns for knitting beginners, which I think is just brilliant because she is doing it all in like big box store brand yarns, which I love. I think that there's almost a stigma a little bit in the knitting community against like acrylic yarns or inexpensive yarns from places, for me at least in America, like Joann, Michaels, and Hobby Lobby, where I think that especially for knitters that are on a budget, like that yarn is perfectly fine to use. No, it's not going to give you the same results as like a high-end, luxury, beautiful cashmere, whatever, hand-dyed yarn. But it's still going to enable you to knit. It's going to enable you to learn and figure out everything. So I love it, honestly. And to be fair, I'm a big fan of very inexpensive like acrylic yarns and stuff from the craft stores like that. I think that they definitely have a place, and so I am just so happy that I was able to test knit these for her. and kind of help with, be a little bit of a help in developing this pattern. I just think it's a splendid thing that she is doing. So these are some very basic worsted weight socks. I knit these out of some yarn that I have in my stash. It's from Michaels. I believe it's the Impeccable, like Loops and Thread Impeccable, which is like a Michaels store brand yarn. 100% acrylic. These were knit on US size 5 knitting needles. There's not a whole lot to say about them. They're just a very basic vanilla socks. Like I said, my husband took them, and they're nice and snug on your feet, which is just really cool, and they fit really well. And so he just stole them and he's been wearing them. Like I said, we can share socks. Any hand knit socks that I make, he can also wear them. So yeah, these are both done. I was able to knit the second one in like a few hours. It's so fast because it's in a worsted weight yarn. I just, like I said, this is the first time I've knit such a chunky pair of socks, and it's insane how fast they knit up. Yeah, they're squishy and comfy, and yeah, I would say definitely stay tuned for the pattern. It's going to be coming up, I believe, as a free knitting pattern. I think she's going to have, don't quote me on it, but I think she's going to have a collection of videos, tutorials on how to do these basic patterns, and they'll have the free patterns. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, so I do technically have a finished object. So I think that's all in the way of socks, in the way of sock knitting. Yeah. So next we can talk about my sweater projects. Tea. It's so good. I'm telling you. These British English people are onto something. Alright, so the first one I'm going to talk about is this one because it's right here. And it is my So Faded sweater that I am working on, which is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. And I haven't made a ton of progress on this because I've been working on my other sweater project. But I have added in my third color here. You can kind of see it down here at the bottom. I faded it in, and I've started working in just that. I measured this up against one of my other hand knit sweaters, and I'm actually very close to being able to put the ribbing in. So I unintentionally put a lot more of this mauve pink and this variegated yarn than the brown yarn. That's fine. I don't mind. I love both of these colors. So this is coming along beautifully. I'm knitting this on US size 5 knitting needles. And this is all my hand-dyed yarn in just this selection of colorways. They don't have names or anything. They're just hand-dyed yarns, and I love it. I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited to get it done. So once I cast off the body, then it's sleeves, and then I'll have another sweater. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to really say about this, but not that I can think of. It's splendid and squishy and lovely, and I'm really excited to work on this and get it done. It's beautiful because all of the body is just plain stockinette, and so it's very mindless and amazing. I can just sit there and knit away on it, and it's beautiful. And I'm loving the colors. I almost wish I had enough of this particular colorway of mauve pink to knit a whole sweater in it, because it's beautiful. Like, oh, I love how it looks. And unfortunately, it's not a colorway that I could precisely dye again, because I'm pretty sure it was a leftover dye in the dye pot, one of a kind, like that sort of a skein of yarn, which is always frustrating. It always seems like the best colors come out that way. I think I'm knitting the third size. I can't remember for sure. I think it's like the 38 or 39 inch bust size. So I'm hoping it'll be kind of not crazy like skin tight fitted, but relatively fitted. So yeah, there's that one. So then my next sweater project is down here. Let me grab this. Get another sip of tea. It's so funny because I am at home all day and I work from home. I don't I don't hardly talk at all during the day. And so when I'm doing things like filming, my voice is just so unused to it because basically for 8 or 9 hours a day I don't hardly talk at all. And so then when I'm filming, it's like straight talking for an hour or whatever it is. This is my Lofoten sweater, which is a pattern by Emily of the Blue Mouse Knits, the same wonderful person that I test knit those socks for. And it's coming along. I feel a little conflicted about this particular project, and I'd put it down for a bit, and yeah, I love the colors that I have chosen. However, they seem to be pooling. The yarn seems to be pooling a decent amount, and it kind of bothers me a little bit. Like, it's not the worst thing ever, but like, you can't super tell. You can kind of see, from what I can tell that you can see, like this is a patch of orangey, ooh, this way, orangey green, and then there's a patch of the blue and yellow. And I don't love that. So I've been feeling a little conflicted about this project, and I decided that I was going to go ahead and just keep knitting on it for a little bit so I could get more fabric, so I could have a better idea of what it was actually going to look like. Because when I was originally thinking about it, I only had like an inch or two of the body portion. And so I was like, well, this isn't really enough to adequately judge how it's all looking. Just knit it for a little bit more and then see how you feel about it from there. Yeah, so I really love this sweater, the sweater pattern. I think the yellow looks amazing, but I don't know. I'm still kind of torn about it. I might rip back to where I added in this color and switch it out for some other yarn in my stash, and then use this variegated colorway for something else. I was thinking it would make, honestly, a beautiful, I don't know if you've ever seen the crocheted, like, I think they're called like Battenberg blankets, where they're like little squares of bright poppy sort of yarn mixed in with more muted neutral shades, and I think that would look really cool in this particular yarn. So yeah, I'm a little conflicted. So we'll see what I end up doing with that. I'm not sure yet. So we'll see. But this project has been just a little bit of a downer, I guess you could say. But I really wanted to get some more fabric into it, more fabric work, so I could properly assess it, you know, not like immediately be like, well, this looks terrible, rip it all out. But I'm still not like in love with it, which I think is something I need to pay attention to, even though I have like 8 inches of work in fingering weight yarn. It's fine. It's better to have a properly made sweater that you love than to have one that you sort of like. So we'll see. Next podcast episode, I might have ripped out a portion of this and redone it. We'll see. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, so this is a Lofoten. I'm knitting this, I think, on the 4th size, which is a bust size 40, but I went down needle size, so I'm knitting this on a US size 4. And that was because when I knit this pattern before, the fabric was just so loose and open that I felt like it just kind of showed, it was too see-through, and I wanted it to be a little bit more dense. So I think I just went down 1 or 2 needle sizes. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a wonderful pattern, and I love it, and I love the stitch pattern and everything on it. It's got little pearl bumps, which I don't know if you can see in this yarn. So I do highly recommend the pattern. I'm just not 100% convinced on my color choices. So that's a slight tale of woe. But I think that's actually all the knitting that I have to talk about. But I do have, is it just 2 crochet projects? I think it's just 2. Technically, I do have 3 crochet projects on the go. It's just the other one is my crochet blanket that I'm working on making out of the Brene blanket yarn. But it's downstairs. It just looks like a rectangle of crochet fabric. So we're not going to talk about that one today. I am going to update you on a project. I haven't updated you on it in a little bit. Let me see here. Get these squares. This is my other crocheted blanket project that I am slowly making progress on. Actually more progress than I thought I had. I am working on making a modified version of the mushroom tote bag. I'll pop a picture up here so you know what I'm talking about. Instead of making it a tote bag, I'm making a blanket because I think it lends itself so well to being a blanket. And so I have a pile of crocheted squares here. This is what they all look like. And I am hoping to crochet about 40 of these. Then I'm going to seam them all together. And then I'm going to work on doing the mushroom applique. I guess that's what it would be considered as a mushroom applique. Because that way I will have all of the hard work done. And I can just have the fun of making all of the mushrooms. So I went through and I actually counted how many I had. I've made quite a few more since then, so I don't know exactly how many squares I have at this point. I think I'm in like the mid-20s, like 23, 24. So yeah, I am much closer to being done with making all the squares than I thought I was. And I really love it because I have the pattern memorized. It's super easy to do. And so it's just, I can crochet it. It's really small. It's really portable. And I am knitting this out of... I love this cotton yarn from Hobby Lobby, and this cream color is Spunky, and the other one is it just olive? I think it's just olive. Let's see, yeah. So the green colorway is olive, and this cream colorway is Spunky, and I really enjoy this project. It's such instant gratification because you're like, ooh, another square is done. And then like 15-20 minutes later, ooh, another square is done. And it was really satisfying because I had all of these just kind of shoved into my bag. It was really satisfying to pull them all out and be like, wow, I've actually done really good. So I made a decent amount of progress with this one, which I'm very happy about. So that is... Well, actually, I don't want to put those all in my bag. I want to keep my bag free and open for making more squares. That is all I have to say about that one. Actually, I'm crocheting that on a US size H. It's a 5mm or size H or 8 crochet hook. And this is just a generic, standard, inexpensive metal crochet hook that I've had for probably 10 plus years. So there's that, and I'm just keeping this in. I don't really have proper project bags. This is actually a Daunt Books bag that my husband got when he was in London a few years ago. This was before we met, and he had it, and we were cleaning or something, and I was like, ooh, little canvas bag. I love little canvas bags. And he was like, well, you can use it. And I was like, thank you. You're never getting this back. And it's amazing. It's like the perfect size for either knitting or crocheting type of a project. I love it. Oh, I was about to say that's all my yarn stuff, but no, it's not. So the next project does not look like much at the moment, but I am, let me see, do I have the ball band for this yarn? I don't. Okay. This is a gift knit. I am in the process of crocheting. Does not look like much at the moment. This is going to be a little cat stuffed animal that I'm crocheting as a gift for my sister-in-law who is also pregnant with a baby. I would hope it's with a baby and not with a vegetable or something. She is pregnant, and we have a joint baby shower coming up soon here, and I decided I was going to make a few gifts for her, and this is going to be one of them. It's going to be a little cat. The pattern is by, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like hang chain something. I will pop a picture up here so you know what I'm talking about. It's this very cute little adorable cat pattern. I will say the pattern is not the most, I would not recommend this for a beginner crocheter. If you're somebody that's crocheted a few different things and you can decipher things, go for it. It's not the most clear thing, but I'm figuring it out just fine, and I am by no means a prolific crocheter. So yeah, I'm working on this. This is the cat head, and it's a little fiddly. It's a little annoying. Oh, shush. Be quiet, phone. Hush. I don't know that number. Go away. I am crocheting this on some just acrylic yarn. This is the Hobby Lobby, I love this yarn, Sport Weight. Quiet, phone. I don't remember the colorway. I'll put it on the screen here. I think it's just gold or something along those lines. And it's a 100% acrylic yarn. And I just got it because it's inexpensive, and because, especially for toys and things, I'm not going to use a merino wool or anything like that. It's not going to happen. But that being said, I am crocheting this on the, I think it's actually, the recommended crochet hook size was like 2.25, which is like a US size 1 knitting needle. So like tiny, tiny, tiny little crochet hook. I don't have a crochet hook that small. I'm doing it on a 3.25 millimeter crochet hook, and it's kind of a pain because this is technically a sport weight yarn, and it's an expensive yarn, so it's a little bit splitty with a crochet hook this small. So, but it is making a very, very nice fabric, and I know that once it's done, when it gets all stuffed and everything, it's going to look really good. So it's a bit of a pain, but it'll be worth it. But yeah, I do recommend you check out those crochet patterns. The designer has a lot of very adorable little like animal crochet patterns, and they just look so good. I actually also purchased the Scottish Fold cat pattern because I just love how Scottish Fold cats look. I think they look so adorable and a little bit ridiculous with their little fold down ears. Once I crochet these for the gift, because I'm doing this one and then one other one in another color. My sister-in-law and brother-in-law have 2 cats. That's why I'm doing the cats. And so I'm going to make a toy for each, toy of each of them, but they will be for their expected baby. Not toys for the cats, although the cats will probably steal them. But, so that one, this one's kind of a fun little one. It's yeah, I do really enjoy crocheting. It's a bit different from knitting, and yeah, it's just, it's fun. It's a completely different movement, and I've wanted to get into it a little bit more. Like, not a ton, just a little bit. Mostly because there's a bunch of toys and things that I think look really cute. I don't think like crochet garments for the most part look good, but I love how they look as the crocheted like blankets or toys. I think they look so cool. So there's that. And that is all the yarn stuff. But now I have a bunch of sewing stuff to show you. As I said, I think this is a little bit of a long one. Ugh, let me get this stuff up here. So, first off, let's talk about this because I think I've shared about it a little bit in previous podcasts. I made a dress, and I had mentioned in I believe a previous episode that I was planning to make a shirt out of this particular fabric, but I changed my mind and I decided to do a hack of the Jennifer Lauren handmade Felicity dress and do a button front, or in my case, snap front, and it turned out so perfect. Like, it is going to be amazing for summertime. And I have a vlog of me making this dress that's going to be coming out next week on Thursday, so I'm not going to talk too much about it here, but you should definitely check that out if you want to, once it goes live, if you want to see the whole detail and process of like how I made it and everything. But yeah, this is just I believe it's a linen blend fabric that I got from Joann on clearance quite a while ago. And I have made, like I said, the Jennifer Lauren handmade Felicity dress. I believe it was in the size 16. And I hacked it so that it has snaps all the way down the front of the dress. And I love it. It's a little bright. This is definitely quite a bit brighter than my normal color choices, but I think it's going to look amazing for summertime. It's going to be so summery, and it's so light and airy, and I think it's going to be perfect. It works very well with the bump and everything, so yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with how it turned out. I'm debating on whether or not I want to try and piece together the very few small little scraps of fabric that I have left and try and put some patch pockets on it, but I haven't completely decided on that yet, because I do not have very many scraps left. This used pretty much like all of the fabric, which is amazing. So this is the only garment sewing that I have. I now just need to cut out my next one and work away on that so I can continue to expand my rapidly dwindling wardrobe. And then the next 3 projects that I have are all very basic, simple ones. The next one that I'm going to talk about, I am so proud of how this turned out. I absolutely love it. So this is another gift for my sister-in-law and brother-in-law for their baby, and I'm just going to show you. I made my first ever proper quilt. I have made countless rag quilts. I've made a ton of those, but I have never made a proper quilt with a front and a back and batting, and I decided that baby quilts are a perfect thing to do for experimenting and figuring that out. And I am just so proud of how this turned out. It just looks so good. So I just used some pre-cut, I believe it's called a charm pack. I got the pack from Joann's. I was able to use a coupon on it, so I was able to get it very inexpensively, which was amazing. But they're just a bunch of pre-cut 10-inch squares, and so then I just sewed them all together, like so. It's got these cute little woodland animals on it. Let me see if I can find one up here. There we go, that one's a little bit, can't really see what I'm showing you. But anyway, so it's just cotton there. The batting was just an inexpensive polyester batting, especially again for baby quilts. I wasn't gonna get like crazy expensive like all natural wool type of a batting. I wanted this something that can be used over and over again and messed up and all that. So it's just cotton fabric for the front, and then I used just a plain colored flannel for the back. And I decided to go ahead and just do, I don't know what the technical term is for it. I think it might just be a, oh, what's it called? It's not continuous binding. I was trying to Google stuff to figure out if there was a special way that I needed to do it, or if I could just do it the way I was thinking about doing it. And it's just, I don't know if there's a technical term for it. I would have thought to call it grown-on binding, but I think it's just, you can just Google using the quilt backing for the binding. And it's basically where you just cut the back of the quilt a bit bigger than the top, and you just kind of fold it over and use it as binding for the quilt rather than having a separate fabric piece that you would stitch around it, if that makes sense. So, yeah. And this was a charm pack of, I believe it was 20 squares. So it's not a huge baby blanket by any means, which is fine. I didn't want anything massive. But I think it's going to be perfect. It's so soft and cuddly, and I love it. I think I'm thinking about making like a little embroidered square with the baby's name and the date that I made it, and just stitch that onto the back of the quilt, but haven't completely decided yet. But I'm so proud of how this turned out. Like, it was a little bit of a faff trying to get it through my sewing machine because the flannel seemed to want to like stick a little bit to the plastic of the sewing machine. So it was a little annoying, but the end product was so worth it. I am 100% going to make one of these for my baby. But yeah, I love how it looks so much. It makes me so proud. Like, I finished it and I was just like, Micah, I can't wait to show you because it looks so good. So I'm so proud of this. I think it turned out amazingly, if I do say so myself. So there's that. And then the other two projects that I have to show you, I actually just did this morning. These are a couple of super simple, super basic little flannel, I think they're technically called like receiving blankets or something, I'm not sure. These are for my baby because, yeah, you know, my baby needs blankets too. So they're just a very, very plain, simple, just rectangles. I used a yard of the printed fabric, laid it out on this blue checkered fabric, which was a flannel I already had in my stash, cut around the yard of fabric, stitched them together right sides together, and then turned it right side out, ironed down all the edges, and top stitched it. And it's super fast, super easy. So now I have two very cute little baby blankets. So, and this flannel is all stuff that I got from Joann's. This blue stuff is a flannel shirting that I've had in my stash for a while, so that was also super nice. I got more fabric out of my stash, which is amazing. And then I got these two very cute little prints. This one's got teddy bears all over it. And then this one has little woodland animals, badgers, rabbits, hedgehogs, mice, trees, foxes, etc. And yeah, they were ridiculously easy to do, and I'm super happy with them. So now I have a couple of little blankets for my baby. And I used up fabric from my stash, so that was great. But that is all that I have in the way of sewing. So I think that concludes the crafty portion of the podcast. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some books that I've been reading and some YouTube people videos that I have been watching. So if you're interested, let's go ahead and talk about that. Okay, so for books, first up, I wanted to go ahead and mention I finished reading Whose Body by Dorothy L. Sayers, which is a Lord Peter Wimsey murder mystery. And this was a book that was really, this book series was quite recommended by Miranda Mills of the Miranda Mills YouTube channel. I'll link her down below. I love her videos. And so I wanted to see if I liked it. I did like it. It was not my favorite murder mystery that I have read. I definitely prefer like Sherlock Holmes, Agatha Christie's books, or the Miss Silver series by Patricia Wentworth. I ate that series up in like January, February. There's like 28 books in that series or something, and I think in like 2 weeks I'd read like 20 of them. So I loved those books. This one's pretty good. It's about a gentleman who's found in a bathtub in a random house in London, and he has nothing on but a pair of gold pince-nez. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, pince-nez. That's how I pronounce it in my head. And Lord Peter Wimsey is a gentleman. He's a lord. Well, he's not technically a lord. His older brother is the one that's the lord. But anyway, he's called Lord Peter Wimsey. And he kind of is an amateur detective, amateur sleuth. And he gets involved because he knows the people who own the house where this body is found. And it wasn't bad. I think a little bit slow for parts of it. It was definitely in that kind of classic book, old type of language, so it was a little bit more difficult to get through. And I find that at certain points my brain just has a harder time reading like classical language. And so it took me a little bit longer to get through. And I also, like I said, didn't find it to be like the most interesting book. Like it was still enjoyable. Like I still liked it. And I would still definitely be interested in reading some of the other Peter Ramsey books in the series. But I don't think it was like the best murder mystery book that I've ever read. To be fair though, I kind of have high standards because Agatha Christie and Sherlock Holmes were like my introduction to the murder mystery genre, and those are phenomenal. Like, they're amazing. You can't beat those. So I have a little bit of, yeah, like I said, high standards, high expectations. So there's that. And I read the Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of Nim by Robert C. O'Brien. It's a book that I mentioned in my last video where I was talking about books to read for spring. And I had randomly remembered that that was a book and was talking about it with my husband one day, and I was just like, oh, now I really want to read it. So I very shortly thereafter went to the library, picked up a copy, and read it, and it's so good. It's about Mrs. Frisby, who is a mouse. She's a little field mouse that lives in the edge of the woods with her 4 children, and one day, it's right at the end of winter, beginning of spring is when it starts, and her son, Timothy, who is, he gets sick. And it's shortly before they're going to have to do what they call moving day, where they move from the field to get away from the plows and whatnot to the edge of this stream in the woods where they'll be safe over the summer until they move back to the farm for the winter, where they're closer to the fields and leftover crops and whatnot. But Timothy got very, very sick with like pneumonia, and it wouldn't be safe for him to be moved because if he gets moved, it could kill him because it's the cold and damp evenings in springtime, you know. And so Mrs. Frisby goes and consults an owl in the woods, and he tells her to go and talk to the rats who live in the rose bush, to go and ask them for help. And so she has to go and ask them for help, and there's all this like fantastical, like really fun, interesting things that happen. She goes to meet them, and she finds out that her husband, who has been dead for a year, had connections with these rats, and these are very special rats. These are not ordinary rats. And it's such a fun, good story. It has kind of a slightly bittersweet ending. Nothing too bad, but it's a little sad. But it's such a fun story. It's about mice and nature, and yeah, I think it's just a very well written book, and I very much enjoyed rereading it. This is probably the 3rd or 4th time I've read it, but it was lovely to read. It's a very springy book, so I definitely recommend that. The only downside is now I have to figure out what to read next. And I'm thinking it's probably going to be Jane of Lantern Hill by L.M. Montgomery, or I might start Middlemarch by T.S. Eliot? George Eliot. George Eliot. That's what it is. I might start that one. Those are 2 books I've been meaning to read for quite some time. But I might pick something else off my shelf. I'm not sure. I have to decide. And my tendency is very much to go back and just reread an old favorite, but I'm trying to push myself outside of those boundaries and read some of the books that I bought last year that I've been meaning to read for ages. So I think I need to pick a different one. But that's what I've been reading recently. And then what I've been watching recently, I've been watching a bunch of Imamuru. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but I'll link it down below. It's a cooking YouTube channel, and I love watching it. It's so much fun. She is a lady who makes a lot of food. She makes her husband's work lunches and such, and it's just so interesting to watch her do all the cooking and like chopping all the vegetables and making all these different soups. She has an adorable little girl. And she'll just like show different things about them eating and whatnot in the food. I discovered this channel in January when I was very sick, and basically in bed for all of January, or a lot of January, just not feeling very good. Morning sickness and all that. I discovered Imamu Room and Honey Jubu, which are two YouTube channels which I absolutely love. I watched pretty much the entirety of Honey Jubu's channel in January because I love her aesthetic. I love her videos. Again, she does more a mix of food and cooking and sort of home lifestyle videos. I highly recommend both of them. They're very fun to watch, so I'm going to link those down below. I've been watching those. I finished watching all of the animated Redwall series, which I mentioned I think last time. They're terribly inaccurate and ridiculous, but they're Redwall and I enjoy them, so I watched through the Redwall, Matameo, and then Martin the Warrior. Those are the 3 animated ones that they have, and they're all on YouTube, and they're quite fun to watch. So I watched those, and then I started rewatching the Beatrix Potter, The World of Peter Rabbit and Friends, which was an old cartoon I think made in like the 90s maybe, and it's all on YouTube as well, and I love it. The animation style is so true to like the books, and I love how in that cartoon they have a lot of moments where the animals will kind of in the process of doing the video. I'm stumbling over this. They basically take, I guess you could say, the pictures from the picture books and do the poses and everything in the moments in this animated series. So it stays very true to the books. And it's really sweet. The music's very good. Like I said, the animation style is amazing. I love it. And it's so fun. I think I've watched through this. This was like a comfort thing for me a few years ago. I didn't discover it until I was already in my 20s. But I fell in love with it. I think I watched through it 4 or 5 times. It's just so sweet and wholesome and innocent and lovely. I just love it so much. I'm a huge fan of Beatrix Potter. Very, very much so. I love her artwork. I love her stories. I think she was a phenomenal person. And so I was delighted when I found this animated series because it makes me so sad when something that I love very much is ruined when it's transferred from book style to video style. So I was delighted to find this, and I love the animation style. Everything about it is just so good. So I do recommend that. I know that it's a little bit childish, but those sorts of things make me very happy. So I will leave links to all of those down below. But yeah, I think we need to go ahead and wrap this up. I have been talking for ages. Poor editing me is probably going to look at this and be like, oh goodness gracious. We have 45 minutes to an hour of footage to edit through. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It was absolutely lovely to get to share all of these projects with you and to talk about all of them. I'm feeling, I don't know, so inspired and ready to keep working on and making all of the things. And I feel like I haven't felt this way in such a long time. It was really rough while I was working full-time because I was just tired all the time, and it was hard to keep my creative energy going. And then right after I quit my job, I found out I was pregnant, so then I was sick for like 2 months to 3 months or whatever, and just didn't have much energy and felt terrible. And yeah, so I just, for the first time, I'm starting to feel like a human again. And to be able to do all of the things that I just love doing. I am the type of person, I'm an introvert, and so being able to be home and alone and not constantly around people is such an amazing thing. And I know that that is not something that most people get to do, and I feel so incredibly lucky that I have the opportunity to be able to do that, to be able to work from home, that I have a husband who has an excellent job, who is able to work and provide. I just feel so, so lucky, and just, yeah, it's one of those things that it's always been my hope and dream to be a homemaker and to stay home with children and be a housewife and a mom. That's what I've always wanted to do, and then to be able to do work on all of my creative projects on the side. So I just feel so lucky to be able to be in that place in my life now where that's what I get to do, and that I have the opportunity to work from home and also earn a little bit of money to help support it, because it's hard in this day and age to, you know, survive on a single income. So yeah, anyway, another tangent. Yes, thank you so much for watching my videos. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to like and subscribe, and yeah, stay tuned. I will have that little mini bonus vlog that I was talking about. That'll be coming up soon, and then next week stay tuned for the sew with me vlog with this dress. Yeah. That's about all I gotta say. So I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope that you are doing well and you're doing healthy and staying strong, mentally and emotionally, physically. And I would love to chat with you and talk with you and connect with you. If you would like to leave a comment down below, or if you just want to say hi, feel free to do that. Like I said, I would love to connect with you. I will see you very, very soon on my next video. Have a wonderful, amazing day. Bye.